Chancellor Asim Chauhan, Vice Chancellor Gurinder Singh, other colleagues of the Amity family, fellow panelists, award winners, and others. Let me congratulate the Amity Group for organizing this meeting under difficult circumstances. Also, more generally, on the spirit of entrepreneurship in establishing campuses in many parts of India and all around the world. I know how hard it is, and I want to congratulate them again. I'm also happy to renew my contacts with the Amity Group, particularly Vice Chancellor Singh and his very capable staff. My comments will be limited and personal because I've never seen anything like COVID before. And they will be much more US centric, I'm afraid, because this is where I've spent all my career. I also think that Amity leadership is really polite in thinking that others like me have something to offer. I think they know all the answers already. For some 20 years, some of us had been advocating the incorporation of digital education in university teaching, but we were hovering around 8 to 10% level in all our course offerings digitally. Then COVID came and miraculously appended the delivery of education to almost 100% within a month and sometimes within a week. This rapid change, the likes of which I don't think we have ever seen in educational system in the last few hundred years, happened because of pragmatic considerations of personal safety related to face-to-face meetings, not out of any deep philosophical conviction. It shows to me that pragmatism actually works. Yet, this big psychological change that COVID brought about was very unplanned, and so there will be a push to return to normal, whatever that means. Certainly, in person teaching of laboratories, music, dance, and other forms of art will be reinstated. Lack of connections and inclusivity, which is a big issue now, which students are complaining about, and also a loss of social life, which is usually regarded as an important transformative aspect of college education, will all force us to try to come back to normal within quotation marks. And there is also the question of international students, which was mentioned a couple of times. Most of them want to come to the US universities because living in the US is a part of educational experience for them. It doesn't seem like they would want to be a part of an online education that the universities might eventually end up offering. Such considerations speak to returning to normal. And of course, US universities have now gotten used to tuition money, full tuition money from international students. So it's an important issue. But some things will not be normal. Now we all learned that lectures can be delivered as a matter of sustained readiness, not simply an emergency response. Even some students enjoy it. And a lot of academic travel has been shown to be unnecessary. And scientific meetings, parts of them at any rate, can be held long distance. Things like faculty office space, physical facilities, people begin to look at them in very different ways. SAT exams have already diminished in importance. On campus job interviews have become essentially non existent, and boot camps are becoming very rare. And some universities, which felt the need to collaborate with MOOCs, are waiting to see what the fallout will be. So, some balance will be struck in the end, but its exact nature will depend upon the institution. I think the best news that has come from all this seems to me to be that it is more acceptable to evolve in one's own ways than adhere to some standard method that many universities were doing. Every university was doing what every other university was doing, more or less. Now, coming to the Amity system, as I already said, they probably know all the answers, and I know they are very innovative and entrepreneurial. I know they care about education system very much, but it is also a successful business. So I take the liberty of pointing out two or three issues for their consideration. One central issue, which has been raised already by Verma, for instance, is the cost and access of higher education. Even digitally, I think the matter of access is really critical. There is so much disparity in access to digital technology. The paradoxical thing is learning is cheaper, getting cheaper every day, so to speak. If I want to learn something, I can do it through a digital medium at a fraction of the cost of a university tuition. But the universities keep charging higher price for education because I think for this piece of paper we call degree certificate. Universities have skillfully intertwined the two strands, education and degree granting, in inseparable ways. If these strands become successfully disentangled, I think the business model of many universities will change, and they will change drastically. And I hope Amity system will be a vehicle for change in this important regard and ensure that quality education is accessible and does not have to be exclusive or exorbitantly expensive. Professor Verma already touched upon some specific recipes. The second factor is that learning has now become a lifelong affair. We used to teach students skills for immediate job market, but that's no longer the way. One has to nurture an aspiration for sustained learning. Even more to the point, all innovations and entrepreneurship aside, qualities such as personal integrity, quality, ethics, and empathy, which already was mentioned once before, have become much more important because of the falsehoods we have had to live with in recent public life. So, halting this downward spiral requires openness, and there is no place whatsoever for intolerance that one is finding in US campuses these days. You may have already seen that some European countries are bemoaning the needless migration of American ideas like this. For example, you may have read the February 9th issue of New York Times published article entitled, Will American Ideas Tear France Apart? Some of its leaders think so. I'm not sure how COVID will rebalance this salient feature, but it is important to be mindful that openness is an essential ingredient of higher education. In conclusion, I simply admire the entrepreneurship of the Amity Group and its leadership. As it propels forward, it's critical to keep in mind that one can be pragmatic in business matters while also working on principled ideals, not to be focused only on the present difficulties and challenges, but to think beyond it. And I wish the Amity Group a great success in this, and I'm happy to engage them later on if necessary. Thank you so much.